Good evening. Welcome back to tonight's training, which we went over this, but this is the lockout tagout. This goes more in depth what it is and where it's used for. So we're just gonna go over it. All right. So lockout tagout training program. This information, suggestion, and recommendation contains herein are for general information purposes only. This information has been compiled from sources believed to be reliable. No warranty, guarantee, or representation, either expressed or implied, is made as to the correctness of sufficiency of any representation contained herein. Reliance upon or compliance with any of the information, suggestions, or recommendations contained herein in no way guarantees the fulfillment of your obligation under your insurance policy or as may otherwise be required by any laws, rules, or regulations. This information should not be construed as business, risk management, or legal advice or legal opinion. We all understand that?
Yes.
All right, so today's learning objective is we're going to understand the purpose of the energy control program, recognition of applicable hazardous energy sources, and the method necessary for energy control. We're going to discuss the primary cause of injury from hazardous energy, understand the steps necessary to properly control hazardous energy when servicing equipment, and know the responsibilities of authorized and affected employee in terms of lockout-tagout. Introduction. So, workers servicing machines and equipment are exposed to injuries from the unexpected energization, startup of the machinery or equipment, or release of stored energy in the equipment. So, 120 fatalities and 50,000 injuries each year. Workers injured from exposure to hazardous energy, loss of average of 24 workdays for recovery. Most injuries and fatalities are a result of improper hazardous energy control procedure. A Bureau of Labor Statistics studies on injuries suffered when servicing equipment showed 80% failed to turn off equipment, 10% equipment activated by someone else, 5% failed to control potential energy, and the remaining 5% failed to verify effectiveness. So, do not start men are repairing this machine. So that's the sign that should be anywhere you're working. It's classified as a fatal 5. So the main causes of lockout, tagout injuries, one is failure to stop equipment before servicing. Okay, meaning someone goes in there, opens up a breaker panel, don't shut off the main, boom, bam, they get zapped. Okay, failure to disconnect equipment from power source. Failure to dissipate, bleed, neutralize residual energy. Okay, in the HVAC system, you have what's called a capacitor. The way you de-energize a capacitor, you take a screwdriver and you put it both, and that energizes the capacitor, because that can essentially kill you even though the unit is off if it's still energized. So, and failure to clear work areas before restarting. Okay. So all injuries resulting from inadequate hazardous energy control procedures can be prevented. Types of hazardous energy, you have mechanical, so potential energy, and kinetic energy present in a component of a mechanical system. So kinetic energy possessed by virtue of its own motion. Common injuries is fractures, contusions, lacerations, and amputations. Okay, potential energy stored by the mechanical system. Common injuries is fractures, contusion, lacerations, and amputation. Electrical energy as a result of generated electrical power source or a static source. The common injuries is shock, burns, and electrocution, meaning death. And thermal energy as a result of mechanical work, radiation, chemical reaction, or electrical resistance. Common injuries will cause burns. Let's see the little pictures right here. Okay.
I just see the the lockout for safety
Okay. You don't see any
before you start.
you don't see any pictures of hand with fire or
Oh
electric.
yeah, I see it. The cameras were blocking it.
Okay. So types of hazardous energy. So chemical energy released as a result of chemical reaction, and the common injury will be burns. Hydraulic energy releases as a result of liquid under pressure, common injuries and contusions. Pneumatic energy releases as a result of compressed gases under pressure, and common injuries will be burns and contusions. So you guys probably asking yourself, why are we going over this? So
I know why.
if we're on a job site and something happens, we will be able to determine what exactly caused the injury, and we can report it to 911, so they know how to come prepared. Okay.
Okay.
So let's discuss about what is lockout tagout. So lockout tagout is a hazard avoidance technique used to prevent energy from being accidentally released during the servicing of equipment. The Lockout-Tagout standards requires that the adoption and implementation of written practices and procedures to, one, shut down equipment, very important, isolate it from its energy source or sources, prevent the release of potentially hazardous energy while maintenance and servicing activities are being performed. Energy control program, 3 core components. Component number 1, energy control procedures that details the scope, purpose, authorization, rules, and techniques to be utilized for the control of hazardous energy. Periodic inspections of the energy control procedures to ensure that the procedure and the requirement are being followed. Employee training and ongoing restraint to ensure that the energy control program are understood. So we have a written procedure, inspection, and training. Lockout-tagout procedures are required if a worker must remove or bypass machine guards or other safety device, or a worker is required to place any part of their body into a point of operation or into the danger zone associated with the machine's operation. Examples of activities where proper lockout-tagout procedures will be required include installing, lubricating, cleaning and unjamming machines or equipment, and making adjustment to tube changes. Okay? So, definitions of players. So, authorized employee. So, an authorized employee is an employee who locks or tags machine or equipment in order to perform servicing or maintenance. Affected employees, an employee who is required to use machines or equipment on which servicing is performed under the lockout-tagout standard, or who performs other job responsibility is an area where such servicing is performed. Okay, now the other employee, so all employees who are on, who are or may be in the area where energy control procedure may be utilized. Okay, we have three players, 3 key players when it comes to lockout, tagout. Okay. So let's discuss the roles and responsibilities of each player. So the responsibility of authorized employee is to identify all energy sources, notify all affected employees in the area of work, shut down the equipment at the operating controls, isolate all energy sources to equipment, lock and tag all isolating devices, designate all stored or residual energy source, verify the isolation, remove lock and tag when repair and testings are complete. Notify all affected employees that lock and tag were removed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you go back, please? Okay, so with dissipate, I know that dissipate and the fatal 5 said to bleed, in parentheses, it said bleed and neutralize.
Mm-hmm.
So what I remember from the last time that we spoke about electricity is that when you bleed is when you drain, or when the current is drained completely from whatever it is that we're going to be working on, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, even though I'm not on site, but I would like to know, is that done when you're working with big machinery? Is it like you wait a certain period of time, or
No, so
how does that work?
this is how it works. So let's use HVAC system,
Mm-hmm.
split unit inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Has a furnace and has an air conditioner. There's
Okay.
something called a capacitor. Now, even though that unit is shut off, the capacitor can give you very hard shock, possibly kill you. So when you bleed it, you're draining it. So in the case when you do that, you take a screwdriver and you put it on a positive and negative and discharge the capacitor. You bleed it. You relieve it of all current that's in that area.
You want to explain to him what a capacitor is so he knows?
I have an idea. I watched Back to the Future.
No.
John, explain to him what a capacitor is.
All right. So, for the most layman terms, you know what a stun gun is?
Yeah.
All right. So, what powers a stun gun?
The battery.
Like a 9-volt battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You put a 9-volt battery in your tongue. Is it gonna shock you or kill you?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. So what the capacitor does is the capacitor will draw energy out of the battery, and it will hold it and then redistribute it at a certain time when you push the button at a different higher voltage or a higher amperage. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, you might have something hooked up to a 110 plug, but it has a capacitor, it can kill you. So, you always want to keep in mind that you know exactly what you're dealing with.
So it's like a booster to energy.
No, it's not a booster. It just changes the way it's distributed. It's kind of like a souped up battery. Instead of having that steady flow of amperage or voltage, you can bunch it up and direct it all at one time.
Like
so
steroid.
they can kill you.
So a capacitor normally stores high amounts of electricity. So it's like a backup battery for the units.
Okay.
And big machineries have big capacitors. So it's pretty much like a fail-safe. Something happens, it still has a little bit of juice to try to keep the machine going until it drains out. All right.
Got it.
Good. Moving on.
Yes. Thank you.
So responsibilities of affected employees: never interfere or tamper with the lock or tag. Stay clear of the area as much as possible. Never attempt to assist. Report any unusual situation or unsafe condition to your supervisor. Okay? So let's go back here. So whenever someone is working on an electrical, okay, you have 3 players, okay? The first player is the one that's doing everything. Lockout, tagout, de-energizing the system, okay? The affected employee job is to be there but not interfere, okay? Because if something happens, you have to have that extra person.
It's just like somebody to keep watch, right?
Correct, like a spotter. All right? So they're not to do anything, put their hands on anything. Their job is simply there to watch at a distance. So let's discuss some energy isolation devices. Okay, so a mechanical device that physically prevents the transmission or release of energy, such as circuit breakers, disconnect switches, line valves, slide gates, line flanges. Okay, note, push button, select a switch, another control circuit type device, energy isolating device. Okay, you understand what that means? Okay, moving on.
It's just like a safety valve or safety.
Huh?
It's just like a safe, like a safe trigger, a safety button, just like something that'll stop immediately. Not when it like the definition is
Oh.
self-explanatory.
So what it's saying is that a push button, a selector, or switch, and other control circuit type is a non-energy isolating device. So just because you push the button doesn't mean that you shut the power down. Understand?
Okay.
Step one of shutting down the whole system.
Okay, got it.
All right, so let's look at different types of lockout devices. Alex, you asked this question last time. Remember, what difference is? So we have the key and combination lock. Okay, the key and combination lock will pretty much self-explanatory. Is this? This is your key and combination. Okay, and this is your key and lock and a lock. Okay, you have your ball valve locks. Okay, which is here. You guys see the mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Actually, no, sorry. The ball valve is here. Okay. These are gate valves. So you have your gate valve locks here. Okay. You have your group lockout hasp. Okay. Which is here. All right. Then you have your circuit breaker locks and then valve hand wheel cover. Okay. So here is where you have your ball valves, your gate valve, and your valve hand wheel cover. Okay. Here's where you will have your combination lock and combination, and here's where you will have your key and lock. Okay, moving on. So lockout device requirements. So device must be capable of withstanding the environment to which they are exposed. Be singularly identified. Be the only device used for controlling energy. Not be used for other purposes. Be standardized within the facility in terms of color, shape, or size. Indicate the identity of the employee applying the device, and prevent removal without the use of excessive force or unusual techniques. Okay? So, tagout requirements. Tagout must be capable of withstanding the environment to which they're exposed, able to withstand corrosive environments such as areas where acid and alkali chemicals are handled and stored. Standardized in print and format, substantial in order to prevent inadvertent or accidental removal, able to be attachable by hand, self-locking, and non-releasable with a minimum unlocking strength of no less than 50 pounds. Inclusive of a legend such as do not start, do not open, do not close, do not energize, do not operate. Okay, you notice everything is written in caps. Okay, meaning you are being yelled at that sticker. Okay, so lockout versus tagout. Okay, so if an energy isolating device is capable of being locked out, and locked out system must be used. So anytime you're locking out a system, okay, you have to use a lockout system. Okay, so if an energy isolating device is not capable of being locked, tagout may be used provided training and more rigorous periodic inspections are implemented. Okay, so if something is able to be locked, you go ahead and you lock it. If something is not able to be locked, you go ahead and you tag it. Okay, make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, general energy control procedure. So step one, definitely identify the energy source, notify others. Step three, shut down the equipment. Step four, isolate equipment. Step 5, lockout, tag out equipment. Step 6, release stored energy. 7, verify isolation. 8, service equipment. 9, release from lockout, tag out, known as lotto. Okay? Any questions on that? So, general energy control procedures. Step 1, identify energy source. So you have to understand the types of magnitudes of the specific energy associated with equipment being serviced. Okay, hazards of energy being controlled and method of means to control the energy. Definitely identify all energy source feeding the equipment, including potential energy. Identify and obtain the appropriate control devices. Clarify any questionable identification of energy source before proceeding. So that is step 1, okay, which is identify energy sources. Okay? We're moving on to step 2. So step 2 is notify others. Verbally notify all affected and other employees of impending shutdown. Remember that not all equipment will have someone assigned to it. Okay, that's step 2, notify others. Okay, and again, you use your notices. Okay. Step 3 of the process is shut down the equipment. So you're going to use standard equipment operating procedures to shut down the equipment. Push stop button, open toggle switch, and close the valve. Okay? And then step 4, you need to isolate the equipment. So operate all energies isolating device so that the equipment is isolated from its energy source. Be sure to isolate all energy sources, primary supplies, any secondary energy sources. So that's to be step 4 of the process. Step 5 is the lockout tagout. So you must lock or tag must be applied to each device. Must be applied.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the previous one, that's when the bleeding would be done, right? That's when you would make sure that.
This
No?
is isolating. Isolating means contain it.
Oh.
All right. So lockout tagout. So locks or tags must be applied to each device. Must be applied by an authorized employee. Okay. Locks must be affixed in a manner that will hold the energy isolating device in a safe or off position. And tags must be affixed in a manner that will clearly indicate that the operations or movement of energy isolating device is prohibited. Okay, so what is step 5?
The actual lockout tagout, just to make sure that you lock the equipment, you lock the power source from the equipment you're going to be using, and making sure you label it that it shouldn't be turned back on because it's under maintenance.
Got you.
Right.
So, Alex, why don't you read step 6?
Yeah, sure. It's general energy control procedures. Step 6, release stored energy. First bullet is, gotta ensure that all potential or residual energy is controlled. We have to block or brace springs and any elevated parts that could fall due to gravity. Relieve trap system pressure. Bleed lines, there we go, bleed lines and vent valves to drain fluids and gases. Discharge capacitors. If stored energy can reaccumulate, monitor it to make sure it stays below hazardous levels.
Okay. And
Release stored energy.
What is step 6 known as?
Release stored energy.
Correct. Okay. So, Christian, why don't you go ahead and read step 7?
All right. Step 7 is verify isolation. So obviously before you begin your work, an authorized employee must verify that the machine has been properly isolated and de-energized. Make sure there's no energy going through it. Make sure all danger areas are clear of personnel. Verify that the main disconnect switch or circuit breaker can't be moved to the on position. Very important. Use normal starting procedure or otherwise verify the system is completely de-energized. Return controls to off position after testing, and verification is the step which is most frequently skipped during evaluations. So pretty much you just want to make sure that there's no power going through your unit, and just make sure that everything is off. All about safety, having safety procedures.
Right. Thank you. John, why don't you take step 8?
Service equipment. Complete required service work according to manufacturer's recommendations. Avoid doing anything that could potentially reactivate the equipment. Do not bypass the lockout if installing new piping or wiring.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
It means service the equipment. Once you're locked out and tagged out, and you're ready to do it, you need to get the job done so that your plant or your project can get back into working order as quickly as possible.
Thank you. All right, so step 9. So this is your final step, okay? So release from Lockout-Tagout, known as LOTO. Okay, so you inspect the work area to ensure that all tools and spare parts have been removed and that all of the equipment components are operationally intact. Replace all machine guards, ensure that all employees have been safely positioned or have cleared the area. Each Lockout-Tagout device must be removed from the energy isolating device by the employee who applied the device. Again, by the employee who installed the device, okay? Notify affected and other employees that the Lockout-Tagout device has been removed before the equipment is started, okay? So those are your steps on Lockout-Tagouts.
So regardless that there's, let's say there's 3 authorized employees, because they can all do it. Same person to place the lockout tagout, that's the same exact person that needs to do the lotto.
Correct.
Regardless if anybody else is qualified or trained or what have you.
Correct. Only the person who applied the device. All right?
Gotcha.
All right, so general energy control, so special circumstances for release testing. Okay, so Lockout-Tagout device may be removed temporarily to test and or reposition the equipment under the following procedure. Equipment must be cleared of tools and materials. Employees must be removed from the machine or the equipment area, or Lockout-Tagout device may then be removed. Authorized employees may then energize and test or position the equipment. Following testing or positioning or system must be de-energized and energy control measures reapplied. Okay?
Start all over again.
Correct. So, to answer your question, Alex, about authorized employee, so under circumstances for relief will be a shift change. Okay? So if servicing lasts more than one shift, Lockout-Tagout protection must not be interrupted. And the authorized employee who applied the LOTO device is not available to move it. The device can only in an emergency and only under direction of a supervisor. Must verify the authorized employee is not in the facility. Must make all reasonable effort to contact employee who applied the device, and must ensure that the authorized employee knows the LOTO device has been removed. And the only way that someone can remove the LOTO.
So it's only when they're doing a shift change that can be done. Other than that, it won't happen.
So what the reason for the tag and Lockout-Tagout is, let's say Nelson's working on something, and the whistle goes, it's time for him to go home. You know, he's going to walk up to me at shift change and let me know what's going on in the factory, whatever. Walk me over to his tag. He's going to sign out his tag, give me his key, and I'm going to sign myself onto his tag.
Okay.
So that's my tag now.
Okay.
That's why it's tagged, not just locked out.
So it's
That way, that way someone can say,
handing
okay.
over the keys.
Yup, exactly. That way someone can say, okay, Nelson started this, John finished it.
Only if that employee is off the facility. If that employee is still in the facility in a meeting, then he is the only one authorized to remove that.
Right. Only if they're going to leave the premises does this occur.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Only if the authorized person leaves the premises will this take effect. If they're still in the building but not in the area, this doesn't happen because the person's still in the building.
Correct. And another instant is, let's just say that the whistle blew and John came to work late. I leave. The tagout is there. So before anyone else can remove that lotto, they have to contact me and they have to let me know that it was removed. If they cannot get a hold of me, then guess what? That lockout
like that.
is there till the next day. Okay? So you must make all reasonable efforts to contact employee who applied the device. Okay? And must ensure that the authorized employee knows the lotto device has been removed. Okay? You must verify the authorized employee is not in the facility. Okay?
All right.
So those are the 3 steps for special circumstances. So let's talk about group lockout tagout. Okay. So a group lockout tagout must afford protection for each employee equivalent to that provided by a personal lockout or tagout device. Authorized employee must affix a personal lockout tagout when work begins and remove it when work is completed. The group must designate a single authorized employee to serve as overall supervisor. So let's just say there's 3 of us, okay? There are to be 3 locks on that lockout. 3, not 2, but 3. Okay? Everyone, the 3, must remove those locks. And 1 person cannot remove those 3 locks.
Okay, now I understand it's going to be under a special circumstance, but
no, that's not a special circumstance. That is a group lockout tagout. Okay? So I'm going to read it again. So group lockout tagout must afford protection for each employee equivalent to that provided by a personal lockout or tagout device. Okay? Each authorized employee must fix a personal lockout tagout when works begin and remove it when work is completed. So let's just say that, and the group must designate a single authorized employee to serve as overall supervisor.
So what's the purpose of having this 3-person lockout tagout?
It's safety, and there could be multiple shutdowns to the electrical. Not just one panel. There could be 3 panels.
Gotcha.
So each one is supposed to put a lock on the panel. Okay? If 2 people are servicing this panel here, they're authorized to service the panel, then there should be 2 locks. That's what's called group lockout tagout. Okay? Both persons must be in accordance with agreeing that the locks can be removed. And in a special circumstance, again, verify that the employee is not on the facility, make all measures to contact the employee, and inform the employee that the lockout tagout has been removed. Okay?
All right.
So let's summarize. So, Alex, read the first one.
I was about to say that. Okay, so the lockout tagout, it prevents energy from accidentally being released while a machine or equipment is being serviced.
Okay. John, number 2.
There are 6 types of hazardous energy common in most work environments: mechanical, electrical, thermal, chemical, hydraulic, and pneumatic.
Christian, read number 3.
All right. Most injuries and fatalities are a result of improper hazardous energy control procedures. So, like lockout, tagout, but make sure your things are safe, prevent injuries or deaths.
If an energy isolating device is capable of being locked out, and locked out system must be used. Okay. General energy control procedures follow a 9-step process. Does everybody remember the 9-step process?
I remember the process. I don't remember each one, but I remember the process.
Should have been taking notes, guys. Affected employees or any other employees should never remove or tamper with a lockout-tagout device. Okay? So this concludes our lockout-tagout. Hope you guys learned more about it, especially Alex, because he was pretty much asking about it.